since I learned what happens after we die. I wish I had never been born at all. I was raised in a devout Catholic household. I've spent my entire life dedicated to the faith. As a kid, I was an altar boy, and as an adult, I spent most of my free time volunteering to plan church events, fish fries, charity work, spring fairs, bake sales, all that stuff. I fell short of becoming a priest despite my attempts. I tried seminary, but I was never that great at school. And when they politely pointed me into other ways I could serve God in the church, I read between the lines. I don't want you to get the wrong idea about me. I'm not a saint by any stretch of the word. I was and am a coward. It's as simple as that. It was not a love for God or a duty to my fellow man that kept me involved in the church. It was fear and fear alone. For as long as I can remember, I have been terrified of death, and even more so of the concept of hell. Whoever thought that telling 5-year-olds in Sunday school that if you're mean to your mom, God will sentence you to an eternity in lake of fire is one sick fuck. I would wake up screaming in the night from nightmares of being banished from God's kingdom. I would cry myself to sleep most nights, afraid that I would never wake up again. My parents, bless their hearts, tried everything to help me. They took me to church counseling, talked with priests, and eventually got me on medication. It took a while for us to find the right dosage, but by the time I was 20, they calmed the raging storm of daily panic to a slight drizzling sense of dread. As an older adult, the rational part of my brain took over more, and I started to pull away from the church. Inconsistencies in the Bible, the geographical nature of God, the scholarly studies on interpolation, and more all made me question my faith. Then I learned the idea of hell that were taught in church, and pop culture isn't even described in the New Testament. And hell is not present in the Old Testament at all. I still went to church, and I definitely believed in something. But my convictions grew weaker and weaker. In some ways, I was comforted by loosening the grip on my faith. In other ways, it was terrifying. My fear of hell was being slowly chiseled away at, but it was replaced with a much greater nagging fear, the fear of the unknown. I used to believe that not knowing was worse than any hell. And at least if you know there's a hell, you could try to avoid it. But if hell was the worst thing the human mind could think of, imagine how much worse the unthinkable could be. Unfortunately, it was only a few years